This is the Simpit Driving School. I am your instructor, Sean Cole, and at this point in our lesson plan, we've already talked about the basics of driving. We've already talked about comfort and driving position. We've talked about braking and acceleration and how weight transfer affects the car. And by combining all of these basics, we are learning the language of driving around a track at its limits. Today's lesson is introducing another aspect of the language of speed, and that is identifying the different corner types. By learning to identify each corner, you'll be able to learn the driving line and get up to speed quicker as you learn to drive around each and every track that you drive, new and old. Now, before I get down to business and start talking about driving lines, I want to focus and talk about one word in particular, and that word is apex. And I'm sure you've all heard the word apex, and it's a very important word in racing, but after watching many different drivers and analyzing the way they drive, I'm certain it's a very misunderstood word. So let's start off with apex. The apex of the corner is the central clipping point of a turn. In racing, it is the point that we are closest to the inside of the corner and simultaneously going the slowest at that same point. And timing this point properly will allow for the straightest line and the highest minimum speeds through a corner. When reaching the apex in racing, it is critical that our inside tires be touching or even rolling over the curbing. If you're a foot or two off of that, then you've missed the apex. Now, you'll hear of 3 different types of driving lines and the different types of apexes. They are early, standard, and late apexes. Each is used in a different type of corner. Now, sometimes the corner will actually dictate our driving line. Maybe we'll do something different based on our overall lap times, based on the type of car, the type of grip, the type of aero package, wet, dry conditions, all those factors that might also affect a driving line. The entire point of a driving line, and by identifying the apexes, is both to shorten and straighten the track. More importantly, it's to maximize speed and lower lap times. By identifying the corner types and by driving them correctly, we actually shorten the track, we straighten the track, and therefore we spend more time on the gas, and this leads to higher speed and lower lap times. So let's start by identifying the different types of corners, and there are quite a few to cover, starting off with a traditional constant radius corner, because they are the most common type of corner in racing. These corners are smooth and will often have a similar entry and exit speed. They look the most like a circle divided in half. As we drive it, our steering angle will increase to the desired angle to hit the apex and then maintain that angle until getting close to the end of the corner, where we smoothly straighten out or unwind our wheel. The apex of a constant radius corner will be in the middle of the corner, so you will be about 50% of the way through the entire corner when you hit the apex and it's time to get back onto the gas. Turns 3, 5, and 11 at Mazda Raceway, Laguna Seca are all constant radius corners. An added benefit to learning this type of corner at Laguna Seca is that we get straight line braking zones in each of these examples. Simplified, with a straight braking zone, we can easily identify when our hardest braking is done and transition smoothly into what is called trail braking or partial braking in towards the apex of the corner. It should be a smooth turn for the apex and then an immediate rolling out of the corner while applying the throttle from apex on at the middle of the corner. There should be very little correction or change in steering angle when done correctly. From there, we move on to the decreasing radius corner. A decreasing radius corner is a corner that keeps getting tighter or sharper the farther you get into it. They will often have a faster entry speed and a slower exit speed due to the angle of attack. A decreasing radius corner is one of the hardest corners to master and requires great patience because apexing and applying throttle too early will result in running off track. By the time you hit the apex, you will have already traveled through about 60% of the corner's distance with 90 degrees left to turn in a 180-degree example. Phillip Island is almost entirely made up of decreasing radius corners. Turn 2, classic example of a decreasing radius turn. And as a matter of fact, so is turn 6. Under braking, we must judge the corner entry speed and start our turn in a little later than normal. We can trail brake and continue to bleed off speed as we enter the turn, and it will naturally feel like we have gotten it wrong and are pushing wide while still in the middle of the corner. That's when we can turn in a little more, collecting a late apex and getting back on the throttle. With a decreasing radius corner, we must continue to turn the wheel as the corner continues to get tighter. It isn't until nearly the end of the corner that we actually make the apex and can start to get back on the gas and straighten out the wheel. There are two challenges of a decreasing radius corner. The first is judging the entry speed so as not to be too fast and run off the track mid-corner. And the other is not having the patience to stay off that gas pedal until you've reached that late apex. If you get on the gas too early, it's likely to send you wide and run you right off the track as you exit the corner, just like a constant radius corner. Now the next type of corner is actually an increasing radius corner. And as you might have guessed it, they are the opposite of decreasing radius turns. So these start off sharp or tight and keep opening up as we go through the corner. It will have slower entry speed than exit speed and also allows for getting back to the gas early as the corner seems to open up at the end. At the apex, you will have only traveled through 40% of the corner when it's time to get back on the gas. A great example of an increasing radius corner is the final corner at Monza, Parabolica. Also, turns 11 and 12 at Interlagos are increasing radius corners. Driving an increasing radius corner is one of the biggest pleasures in racing. Under braking, we are setting up a sharper turn and an earlier turn-in than the other two types of corners that we've discussed. Along with that early apex, we also get to get back on the gas early, and it feels more natural to unwind the wheel as we roll out of the corner. Although an increasing radius turn provides us plenty of runoff as the corner keeps opening up or getting wider from apex on, if you get too greedy, you'll still find yourself running out of track on the corner exit. And if you're too timid, you're going to have all the track in the world to keep running out of the corner. And at a place like Monza, that could be the key to being slower in your lap times. There are also moments or corners that we will double apex. This can be an extremely long corner. It can also be when you have two corners so close together that we treat them as one. Great examples of this can be found on turns 2 and 3 combined at Mazda Raceway, and also at Puhan or turn 12 at Spa. For a double apex corner, we will approach the first half of the corner, reaching the apex, and then let the car drift out wide before turning for the second half of the corner and hitting its apex for the best exit of the final phase. Sometimes we will actually have enough time to get back on the gas slightly mid-corner or unwind the wheel fully before taking that second apex, again focusing our energy on the exit of the second part. Another scenario of multiple corners are chicanes, with a left followed by a right, or the opposite, a right followed by a left. These are usually done to slow cars down and prevent dangerous speeds on certain tracks. Great examples of chicanes are found at Imola. In fact, there are 3 different sets to choose from. Each corner is treated independently depending on its type. However, we are using the first turn to set up our entry to the second turn, and we'll focus most of our energy on the exit of the second turn to maximize speeds. You will also find 2 sets of chicanes placed directly together in opposite directions. This is referred to as a bus stop. The best example in the world of a bus stop comes at Daytona. You will also find one at Watkins Glen and a handful of other tracks. We treat a bus stop just like a chicane, but our focus of energy when leaving the first chicane must be setting up the second one immediately following. Our overall lap times will be better when we focus on the exit of the second chicane of the bus stop. Usually the first part has slowed us down enough, and from there we can pick our best line to be able to get back onto the gas soonest upon leaving the bus stop. And finally, I want to mention esses. Esses are a combination of at least 3 and sometimes more slight turns in a series. You will find a classic example of this at Circuit of the Americas snaking their way along the track, and at Nordschleife, where the entire track is a series of esses. These winding corners will always present a challenge and usually require some form of balance and patience to navigate through quickly. Like slalom skiing, you're looking to make these as straight a line as possible at the expense of speed that can actually throw you off the track. Overspeeding through the S's will cause you to run wider with each turn and eventually off the track. They are usually not severe corners, but the side-to-side movement changes the weight transfer of the car and can present a problem for both the driver and the car setup. In all these scenarios, we are looking for safety. We are also looking to minimize our lap times. In my examples of corners, the corners dictated the driving line, but there are exceptions to the rule. There are times where maybe hugging that inside line all the way around might be more beneficial than actually trying to time a very late apex. There are also scenarios where you're setting up the next corner or section that's coming up ahead, and taking a different driving line might give you a better approach into these sections. So I hope this has taught you some of the language of identifying corners and helped you get through some of those tough sections that you're driving out on track. This is the Simpit Driving School. I'm your instructor, Sean Cole, and I'll see you on the track.